Three. Hey guys, so something occurred to me the other day, and it's something that I'll definitely keep in mind going forward. By the way, we're here in a new place, not like in my usual room, and it's not my usual time either, but I thought I'd change it up. So, and that's basically that two people can, I would almost say never, I haven't seen it and I don't think so, can never like each other in the same way, can never like each other equally. So, I think this is actually where a lot of problems arise because either people don't realize this or they don't want to accept it or they want to think otherwise, but really I think that's what a lot of problems boil down to in any kind of relationship, not just romantic but also platonic as far as friendships. So it's always going to be the case where when there's two people involved, one person will value that relationship, that time and that other person more than the opposite party. And that almost makes sense. You can't actually expect two things to be. It almost sounds, I'm sure there's a better word for it, but masochistic to say it. But if you find yourself liking someone too much, you almost know that's a bad sign. Typically, things aren't going to end well when you value and you just want something a little bit too much, especially if it's not reciprocated on the other end. And you should be smart enough to pick up on that. So that happened to me, maybe a few months ago. And once the dust settled and I got over, I kind of thought to myself, people can make all the excuses in the world. They can just tell you, oh, you're too old, you're too young, you're too different from me. I have these circumstances, of course, bad timing and things like that. That's a classic one that people like to say. Okay, maybe that's true to some extent, but either way, I think that's just one important yet harsh reality to keep in mind is that no matter how much you like someone else, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to like you in the same way. So it often happens romantically, but I mean, even in friendships, like I'm sure this has happened to you. Has someone ever like told you or kind of indirectly you found out, they're like, yeah, actually you're my best friend. And I stayed silent because I wanted to keep it there. Because sometimes you stay silent because it was a bit of a surprise. Like one, maybe you didn't know that. But the other important thing, which I'm trying to get at here, is that they are not necessarily your best friend. And, this happens to everyone. Just because, you think someone is your best friend or someone else thinks that you're their best friend, that doesn't mean that the other side is going to reciprocate. There's so many different factors and circumstances that can go into that. I know an example of, I moved around a lot when I was young. So when I was going somewhere, someone could be my best friend if I only knew them for like a year maybe. And it was the case that, well, yeah, because I don't know anyone else here. You're my longest friend here. You're the only person I know. Well, not the only person, but the person I know best. So that's just, one factor. Another one could be like, let's say in relationship, if you're from like a small town, or maybe you're just like introverted, you don't get out a lot, you actually haven't been exposed to that many people. So if say after like 50 different encounters, you find one person that's just you think is incredible, amazing, it could be the case where that other person, they actually maybe they've met twice as many people as you, 100, and that dynamic, that factor there kind of offsets how you see each other, how you value the relationship and the other person. These are just two examples. Like I said, there's basically unlimited factors that can go into this, which is why I said earlier, it makes sense that two people wouldn't, exactly, measure out and value things in the same way. So yeah, whenever you're entering into something, just keep that in mind. It's important to be, a little bit, like I said, harsh, but to just know that if things don't go well or to prevent them from going badly, it's just an important concept to keep in mind. The last question that I have written down here Recently, I've been liking to take some small notes on my phone before I do this live video. So it's not 100% impromptu, but basically I only write these thoughts down a few minutes beforehand. Is that this is my last thought. Is it right to like someone less because you know that they don't like you as much as you like them? So to give an example, because I know that's a little bit of a wordy question, if you think someone is, your best friend, let's just say you think they're a 10 out of 10, but do you think it's right to basically reevaluate them and make them less of a friend, a 9 or an 8, just because they don't think the same thing that you do? And if that's the case, does that mean that you actually like that person in the beginning? Did you originally, to begin with, like that person for who they were? Or do you kind of just like them because they like you? And if you only like people because they like you, then, it's going to be hard to really say, oh, I thought this person was just, super smart. They were super funny. She's such a hard worker. You can't really attribute your liking of a person to any of those qualities, really, when in reality it's just, oh, it turns out you only like people who like you. That's a different case. I'm not going to say if that's, selfish or a little bit inward looking, but it is what it is. So that's just some things to consider. I know for me, moving forward, I just, I'm going to remember that. And it's something that I will keep in mind. So I don't, now when I enter into friendships and relationships, I don't expect the other person to like me as much as I like them. And also, I won't penalize that person for not liking me as much as I like them. The way I want to approach it, I'm just going to be pretty much as honest and straightforward as I can be. My decision about other people, the way I evaluate and characterize them, is going to be purely, my opinion, my thought. I won't base it on external factors, and especially not, how much they like me or other things like that. So that's the thought I want to leave you guys with today. I think it's important to remember, like I said, I dealt with it recently, and I think it would be quite helpful if people kept this in mind. Because like I said in the beginning, I think a lot of problems with, relationships, friendships, especially romantic, they kind of stem from that non-realization that, you can't expect someone else to like you as much as you like them. And oftentimes, much more often than not, it's simply not the case. So I know it sucks to be on the short end of that, but it happens. And I'm sure we've all been on both sides. So you know how it feels when someone else is probably showing you a little too much love and vice versa. But hey, okay guys, it's about to be the weekend here in Bangkok. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's talk soon. Take care.